Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. It is the 9th of July, and I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. All right, I know my day is going by swimmingly. Now, I do have a few questions to answer and a comment or two to cover. If you are the breed of character that loves to ask questions, if your question pertains to what we talk about here, Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom, post your question as a comment, and I will do my best to answer it in the next video. Or you can email me directly at searchforsigns@mail.com, and I will do my best to answer it in the next video. And then you can give me the thumbs up or the thumbs down based on how well I did. All right, so let's get on into it. Evan Bella Adam. Hello, what sort of signs are you searching for? Just curious. Well, Evan Bella Adam, the name, the flying car show, all the latest was taken. So I had to pick the last one available, which was Search for Signs. No, when I started this channel, well, first of all, to answer your question, I'm not searching for signs. But I started it with the intention of dispelling the myths that I was seeing on YouTube about Maitreya being the Antichrist, which is a total myth. These people don't understand what they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. They're misleading they're misinterpreting their own scriptures and thus misleading thousands of people. I think they mean well, most of them. I think some of them might be doing it for the ad revenue. I don't know, but I'm just going to assume that most of them, they're trying their best and doing what they think is best, but they're, just as it says in Corinthians, even Satan can disguise himself as an angel of light. I think Paul was talking about our motives, and so how sometimes when we think our motives are pure and selfless, they really aren't. And that's what I think is going on. But that's just me. And then the other thing, too, would be like the other biblical prediction people like to throw our way is, in the end times, woe are those who see good as evil and evil good. Well, he didn't say the end times. He was just talking about any time. So when people see sharing and justice as an evil, and let's say capitalism and injustice and violence as a good, well, there you go. That's a prime example of that one thing. But so I did this to help counteract that. Talking about some of the signs, but also talking about my personal experiences with Maitreya to help, add a little bit of weight to what I was talking about. And I was only planning on putting up about maybe a half a dozen videos, and just leaving it at that and moving on with my life. And yada, 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 200 and something videos later, I'm still going at it. Whether I'm doing a good job is a whole other thing. But no, I don't search for signs. I don't, the signs I just kind of let the signs come to me. But the signs are there for us, not for them. So Maitreya would say that, his return isn't required on the signs. It's to help build the expectancy and the hope of a weighted teacher, under whatever name you call him. And so by doing so, it does allow him to enter our lives, easy. It's easier for him to enter our lives, but he could come back into the world, and start teaching humanity without the signs. Like I said, he's just doing it for us, for the healing aspects of it, like the healing waters and so forth, or the healing crosses of light, that kind of thing. Hopefully that answers that question. All right. Next question comes from Peter Miller. Is there a way to look at your karma and find out where you stand? I hope so. No. Peter, I would say look at your life. If your life is going fairly, fair to middling, then you're probably doing pretty well. If your life is, you're sitting on death row for multiple murders that you've committed, that will tell you where you stand with your karma too. Now, if you would like to try to contact the Lords of Karma, because there's actually, I think there's 7, if I'm not mistaken, karmic lords that aren't even on this planet. They're very, very, very advanced masters, even from Maitreya's perspective. And they're not even in this solar system, but they're the ones that divvy up the karma for all of us. So if you want to be able to get a hold of them, I'd say you better find a way to get off this rock and then have plenty of oxygen to get you there, because they are not close by. All right. But yeah, just look at yourself. And then, are you serving? Are you sharing? Those things help mitigate karma if you're worried about your karma, really. And, if you start serving, you might see the proverbial car coming your way that's about to crash right into you on a head-on collision, and the very last second is diverted, and your car's saved and you're saved. And I mean that in a very real sense, but I also mean that kind of as a proverb, where you'll see stuff like that going on. You'll see it coming down the road, that big rock coming rolling right at you, and then whoop, it just misses you. And a lot of it can be because of the fact that you are serving, because that burns off karma more than anything. The other thing too is, can't remember if I mentioned this in the last video talking about karma. According to the masters, fevers are a kind of a benevolent way of the lords of karma giving karma to a person that would normally kill them, a way of working off that karma and literally burning it off by raising the temperature of the body. So the higher the temperature, the more serious the karma they're burning off. And so, I know there are people in my life that have had fevers a lot in their lifetime. I have had hardly any, but that's a way that them burning off that karma that would have normally killed them. So they can avoid having to keep coming back in incarnation and starting back at kindergarten again, so. All right, hope that helps. Next comment comes from Cynthia Jaworski. Polish people rock. And so the land too. SOP. Well, thanks for the shout out on Save Our Planet. We definitely need more people talking about that for sure. Cynthia, if I offended you in any way about my poor attempt at humor about comparing the landscape and the terrain of Poland with Venus, I do apologize. But George Adamski did say that, on the level that these space brothers and sisters are in Venus, if you were to go there, it's quite gorgeous. So anyway, I'm sure it's the same thing with Poland. It's quite gorgeous as well. So hopefully I didn't offend you with that or anybody else. All right. Last question comes from Abdullah from Iraq. Do you think Maitreya will come in 2 or 3 months? I think it will almost come next Christmas. Well, Abdullah or anybody else, it's hard telling. Now, Maitreya is already here on TV speaking in incognito. Now, whether you mean, will people start to recognize him, or maybe you recognize him in 2 or 3 months or by Christmas, I have no idea. I just know that he's going to continue to do radio and television interviews, on into the future, ongoingly. He's not just going to throw up his hand and say, screw it, I'm done. Yeah, I've had enough of these people, But to expect to, let's say the day of declaration or something like this in 2 or 3 months or by next Christmas, I doubt it. But maybe this year, next year, the year after, it can happen at any moment. Once people start to recognize him, and really more than anything, they start to recognize the need to change their direction in which we're going and follow his priorities. Looking at it from any teacher's perspective, because that's all he is just a teacher. He's not even a religious leader. He's a teacher. If you give somebody a set of teachings and you give them the first step and they haven't even completed the first step because they're a little thick, then you can't really bring the second step in there no matter how much you want it. You have to let them work it through the first step, And right now we're living in a world where, or at least I'm living in a country where people politicize wearing masks, and they won't even wear a mask knowing that it's actually beneficial for them and could help somebody else out. So what's it going to be like when they hear, hey, let's share the world's resources? Maybe that will help somebody else. Do you think those same people are going to really give a flip? There are going to be a lot of people that do, but there's going to be a large segment of people that are going to be very much against what Maitreya is saying, and looking at the environment of today, where people who look like normal people, and then there's these videos of them just flipping out, sitting on the floor in a Costco, or just going off on somebody at a Walmart or a Target or whatever like this, and just trashing displays and everything. There's a lot of people who are very unstable and mentally unstable. They look like normal people, and you can probably go years without even knowing that they have some serious mental and emotional issues. But in today's environment, with as much fear and uncertainty as there is in people's lives, and the stress, it's starting to come out, and I think that's what we're seeing, but the people that I see on a day-to-day basis, the majority of them aren't wearing masks, knowing that there's a pandemic out there. And then there's, and then you got the other set of people that, it's just, they just deny the fact that there is a problem. Maybe it's too much for them to even comprehend. Maybe there's, it's not going to be that bad. Well, I think it can be. I think it can be really serious. And if we don't tackle this issue as a people, it's going to get really, really bad. And I don't think we're really even attempting to tackle it. So I think the second wave is going to be way bigger than the first wave. And then the third wave might even be just as big or slightly smaller or whatever, but I think the wave, the tsunami's headed our way for sure. But it's just human nature. So, but I think that's the reason why I think Maitreya is speaking in the way that he's speaking, because he knows it's better for people just to hear something, just a little bit of something, take it back for themselves, internalize it for themselves, and try to see if there's any truth in it for themselves, versus having to, deal with all the fear and the dogma that comes around the fact that the one awaited by all the world's religions might be speaking to them on TV at that moment, and so it's a subtle way of getting the information out there so people can possibly take it to heart, that's the way I see it. So he might have to continue to speak in the way that he's speaking for a time longer than we would expect, maybe 2 or 3 months, or by this Christmas, or even next year. I don't know. Yeah, I'm in it for the long haul, so I don't look for it to be any time, like by this time next week, that we all know who Maitreya is on, on TV, and the name that he's going by, and all these changes kind of take place. I know a lot of people are very impatient. A lot of people are looking for him, and a lot of people ask me why I'm not telling you where he is, how to find him on TV. Even if I could, I wouldn't tell you, but we all just need to, take what his priorities are and start applying it. And then I think we would start to see him on TV, but more and more. But he is there. We just have to kind of look for it. So hopefully that helps. All right. Now I do want to leave the video, or end the video, with reading one of Benjamin Creme's master's articles. I do think it's relates very much to what's going on today, even though it was written 21 years ago. Next month, actually, is when it is. So it's almost on the 21st anniversary. It's called A Testing Time. And with all these articles, and I do have to say this as a disclaimer, so especially if and when I ever do run into Benjamin Creme's master, and he says, why did you keep reading them? They would have been better for them to read it themselves. I can look him straight in the eye and say, every single time I read it, right before, as a disclaimer, I did say that it was better for them to go find your books. So it is way better to, for any one of us to read his words for ourselves, to see the words, even for myself. If you see a word you don't know the meaning to, you can go Google it and kind of absorb the meaning of what he's trying to say, versus just hearing somebody read it out loud, and especially me. But, if it was Morgan Freeman reading it off, it'd be a lot more interesting. So anyway, hopefully this helps. But this article is entitled A Testing Time. Without doubt, this is a most testing time for humanity. All await a sign, a signal, that the time ahead bodes well, that the much prophesied Armageddon is not the nemesis foretold, but a figment only of man's fear and imagination. Nevertheless, many continue to hold to that sad conclusion to man's sojourn on earth, and poison, therefore, the atmosphere of hope. Certainly, signs of hope abound, but man's doubts prevent his correct assessment and understanding. With the advent of Maitreya, all of this will change. His presence will assure the masses that their future is safe, that the new light shines in their midst, and that the era of brotherhood beckons them into its creation. They will know beyond doubt that their needs can and will be met, that they matter and have meaning and purpose. In a new experience of self-worth, they will gladly adopt the methods of self-transformation. The ancient dogmas and fears will lose their tenacious hold, and in that unaccustomed freedom, men will renew their joy in life and welcome change. Thus will it be, and thus will the great Lord inspire and attract the love and devotion of countless millions. As a teacher, Maitreya is beyond peer. We, his immediate disciples, know this to be so. Ages-long experience has taught him the wisdom, the loving understanding to enter into the hearts and minds of all, and thus to inspire all to emulate his attainment. Even today, many are beginning to respond to his unseen presence and are finding within themselves that this is so. When Maitreya emerges fully and openly, this process will quicken dramatically until all will know that the Christ is once again living and teaching among men. At first, Maitreya will concentrate on the major problems, political and economic, ecological, and social, which threaten the stability of the world and the well-being of men. As these problems begin to find solution, his attention will turn to the inner constitution and psychology of man, the causes of disease and its prevention and cure. He will reaffirm the great and basic laws which govern life on earth and our connectedness with all cosmos. He will show that right relationship is central to any understanding of the meaning and purpose of our presence on this planet, and that right relationship is the destined next achievement of man. Many, therefore, are the tasks which await Maitreya as he awaits in the wings, ready to emerge into the full light of day in the full glare of man's curiosity and hope. The great Lord is not daunted by the immensity, as only he understands it, of these tasks. He knows that all is well planned and understood, and that man himself is ready for the new life ahead. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.